Chapter 71 Tiandou Empire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 71 Tiandou Empire, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 a perfect soul ring setup. 8 soul rings spun quietly around the fifth elder, radiating an aura of terror and destruction. The 4 black rings pulsed with immense power. People at the spirit hall shuddered, gazing at the sky in fear. Ferdinand stood firm. With a low growl, his own 8 soul rings materialized, another perfect configuration. They shot into the sky, colliding with each other at incredible speed. Boom! Their palms met, sending them both flying backward. A deafening roar echoed through the heavens. The intense red sky was blasted away, revealing the clear blue above. Those on the ground fared no better. The shockwave knocked people off their feet, screams filling the air. Dai Yao and Zhu Zhuqing, attempting to fly, were caught in the blast. They struggled to regain control before crashing. Dai Yao looked back and saw 2 figures locked in combat high above. Suddenly, a gigantic red tiger materialized, breathing gouts of fire. On the ground, a massive war elephant rose, lifting a thick wall of earth toward the sky. Black soul rings blazed, unleashing devastating soul skills. Flames erupted, the earth cracked, tigers roared, and elephants trumpeted. It was like the end of the world. Is this a battle between Contras? Dai Yao stared at the scene, utterly shocked. I have to become a titled Douluo. He vowed, a burning desire for power igniting within him. One day, he would get justice. After helping Zhu Zhuqing to her feet, both of them were a mess from the battle's aftermath. Before they could fully process what they'd witnessed, they saw the spirit hall's city gates open, soldiers pouring out after them. Dai Yao knew they had to move. Let's go. On a road outside Tiandou Imperial City, a carriage rolled along at a leisurely pace. Looking out the window, lush trees lined the road, and in the distance, a towering pagoda pierced the sky. A young man pointed at the pagoda and asked the driver, "Is that it?" "Yup, that's the headquarters of the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile School, the second most powerful sect around." The boy nodded, a look of understanding on his face. The boy was Dai Yao. Since the earth-shattering battle, Dai Yao and Zhu Zhuqing had successfully evaded capture. With help from the Spirit Hall, they had made their way to the Tiandou Empire. It had been over 10 days since they left Wuguan. During that time, they had let go of their anxieties and simply enjoyed the journey, leaving the Star Luo Empire. Leaving 9 years of misery behind. As the imperial city walls came into view, Dai Yao grew more excited. Tiandou Imperial City, here I come. Stepping into Tiandou Imperial City, the first thing you noticed was the laid-back atmosphere, a stark contrast to the serious and disciplined Star Luo Empire. The Tiandou Empire was more about freedom and romance, less about war. After getting off the carriage, Dai Yao headed straight for Tiandou's Spirit Hall. It was easy to find. The towering building was visible from almost anywhere in the city. At the Spirit Hall, he presented Bishop Ferdinand's letter of introduction and secured a meeting with Platinum Bishop Salas. Salas was thin and sharp, like a spear, quite unlike the portly Bishop Ferdinand. Learning that they were Ferdinand's referrals, Salas treated them with respect. Regardless of their youth, the two sat on a sofa, sipping tea, while Salas took the main seat and opened Ferdinand's letter. After only a few lines, Salas's gentle eyes widened. He stared at Dai Yao in shock, rereading the passage to confirm the information. Finally, Salas put the letter down and smiled. So, you're 4th Prince Xingluo. Ferdinand outlined your plans in the letter. I'll get everything you need prepared immediately. He tucked the letter away. As he walked, he said, whatever academy you want to attend, I can help you get in. Although, I'd suggest heading straight to Spirit City and joining our team at the Spirit Hall. I appreciate the bishop's kindness, but I just arrived in Tiandou and have no plans to leave so soon, Dai Yao replied. All right then. Salas smiled and shook his head. Auckland Academy, escorted by the Spirit Hall, Dai Yao and Zhu Zhuqing arrived at Auckland, their first choice, but Auckland was buzzing with excitement. A crowd had gathered in front of the main gate, dozens of meters wide. They were all clustered around the notice board, murmuring to each other. The Tiandou Royal Academy team is challenging us. The Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy tournament just ended. Didn't we get creamed? We didn't even make it to the elimination rounds. It's not the old Tiandou Royal Academy team. It's the new Royal Academy team. New team. Yeah, the Royal Academy already had replacements lined up. They're putting together a new squad right after the tournament. So why are they challenging us? A new student asked, confused. Don't you get it? It's tradition. After each Tiandou Royal Academy team is formed, they challenge other academies to train and find the best players. An older student explained. And our Auckland Academy is their first stop. Then I've gotta support our team. Maybe we can win this time. The freshman hoped. The old student sneered to himself, thinking the new kid was hopelessly naive. There's no way our academy can beat the Tiandou Royal Battle team. They call it a challenge, but it's just a fancy way for the royal family to show off the strength of their team and establish their authority. So we have no chance at all. The freshman's enthusiasm began to wane. Our best-case scenario is to lose with dignity, the older student said bitterly. His tone conveyed despair. And I heard the new Tiandou Royal team has kids from the top 3 sects, and even relatives of poisoned Douluo. They all have top-tier martial souls. How can ordinary academies like ours even compare? Suddenly, a team of royal guards appeared, their armor gleaming. The crowd grew quiet. A noble-looking man surveyed the Auckland students with disdain, shaking his head. Fighting you trash is a waste of our royal team's time. Get out of the way. I want to speak with your principal. His words ignited anger among the students, but they dared not speak out, intimidated by the Royal Academy's reputation. Humph, you're all cowards. Why are you blocking me? Get out of here, you're in my way, you know. The noble, representing the Royal Academy, oozed arrogance. Early update today. Chapter 72 Zhu Zhuqing takes action. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 72, Zhu Zhuqing steps up. The noble's arrogant laughter hung in the air as everyone else fell silent. He was acting this way just because he represented the Tiandou Royal Academy. A young man with a square jaw and a broad nose glared at the noble, his fists clenched, anger burning in his eyes. He scoffed and turned to go inside the academy. Dai Yao learned the whole story from the students' chatter. He and Zhu Zhuqing entered the campus without giving it much thought. He had a recommendation letter from Salis, so getting in would be a breeze. Even without it, the academy would be tripping over themselves to recruit him, given his talent. Still, he wasn't in a rush to find the principal. Instead, he and Zhu Zhuqing wandered around the grounds. The pathways were tidy and the students behaved in an orderly fashion. After checking out the classrooms, the cafeteria, and even their supposedly top-notch simulated training environment, he concluded that Auckland College was a far cry from his old school, Douluo Royal Academy, and that was before even considering the quality of instruction. How could a regular advanced Soul Master Academy ever compete with one that the royal family poured resources into? But none of that mattered to Dai Yao. They found themselves, without really intending to, at the Academy's combat arena. Soul Masters were the most prestigious profession on the continent, and an advanced Soul Master Academy was bound to be filled with competitive young talents. So naturally, like every other academy, Auckland had a combat arena to let students settle their differences. Right now, the arena was packed, the crowd was buzzing, and the cheers were deafening. "Wanna check it out?" Dai Yao asked, turning to Zhu Zhuqing. "Sure," she replied with a nod. They walked to the edge of the arena, and Dai Yao saw that the noble who had been bragging at the gate was currently standing over a student, kicking him repeatedly in the head. He shouted to the watching crowd. "You're all such trash. You really thought you could take me on? Get real. I'm just a regular great soul master from the Royal Academy. You guys couldn't beat me in a million years. Do you really think you have what it takes to stand in a royal team?" That the noble's arrogant voice echoed around the arena. The students watching looked furious, but none of them dared to challenge him. They knew their limits. They might have been hotshots at Auckland, but compared to the students from the Royal Academy, they were out of their league. "What's wrong? Nobody stepping up? What about the people on your so-called Auckland team? Are they all hiding under their desks?" The nobleman laughed like a maniac. the square-jawed guy clenched his fists, his nails digging into his skin. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He was about to jump into the arena when something stopped him. The noble was busy gloating, but then his eyes froze. He saw a stunningly beautiful woman in the crowd, more beautiful than anyone he had ever seen, even at the Royal Academy. She was dressed simply, so she didn't stand out, but he knew women, and he could tell that with the right clothes and a little makeup, she would be absolutely dazzling. He glanced at the young man standing beside her and thought dismissively, "What's a beauty? Like that doing with a loser like him? She should be with someone strong. I bet I could charm her without even trying. I can't believe someone this gorgeous is stuck in a dump like Auckland." He rubbed his hands together, dropped the arrogance, forced a smile, hopped off the platform, told the crowd to get out of his way, walked right up to the woman, and said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm from the Tiandou Royal Academy. You know what that means. If you become my girlfriend, I could get you into the academy. What do you say?" The woman was Zhu Zhuqing. His words caused a stir in the crowd. Everyone wanted to get into Tiandou, but the noble's condescending tone was an insult. If Zhu Zhuqing agreed, she wouldn't just be embarrassing herself, she'd be embarrassing the whole school. "Don't do it." The students in the crowd became more and more agitated. Dai Yao stepped forward, glared at him, and said, "Get lost." But the noble just smiled condescendingly. To him, Dai Yao was nothing but an ant. Why should he care? He picked at his nails, completely ignoring Dai Yao, and said in a charitable tone, "You have to understand that you commoners don't have the natural talent to get into the Royal Academy. I'm 15 years old, level 26. Only someone with my talent could ever get into Tiandou. You guys are just trash. But beauty is also a resource. If you treat me right, I might be able to pull some strings and get you in." The noble smiled lewdly at Zhu Zhuqing. Dai Yao realized that the noble was judging him by his clothes. He had been wearing plain clothes since he escaped from the Star Luo Empire, since it made it easier to hide. He just hadn't had a chance to change since arriving in Tiandou. At the same time, he was disgusted by the Tiandou Royal Academy. He knew that the Seven Devils were shocked by the arrogant and domineering attitude of the nobles in the academy when they first entered Tiandou Royal Academy. Now that he saw the noble soul masters of Tiandou Royal Academy with his own eyes, he became even more disgusted. Once he realized that the noble was only at level 26, Dai Yao felt relieved. He was about to teach the guy a lesson, but Zhu Zhuqing stopped him. "Brother Yao, I want to handle this," Zhu Zhuqing said, her voice icy, her eyes fixed on the noble as if he were already dead. "He's level 26. Are you sure?" Dai Yao asked, concerned. Zhu Zhuqing turned to him, the coldness gone, replaced by a warm smile. The smile made everyone around them stop in their tracks. Even the noble was taken by surprise. "Brother Yao, you've been protecting me for 3 years. This time, I want to try. Besides, you haven't even seen me fight since I became a great soul master." Zhu Zhuqing said softly. Because her martial soul had mutated, she had avoided fighting at Star Luo Royal Academy to keep it a secret. Dai Yao was curious about her current strength, so he agreed, "All right, but tell me if you get into trouble." Watching Zhu Zhuqing step into the arena, the noble chuckled, "Oh, feisty, are we? I like that." Zhu Zhuqing just snorted, not bothering to waste words. She wanted to make him pay for his crude remarks with her own strength. "Let the soul combat begin." The referee announced, and the arena fell silent. The crowd couldn't bear to watch. Zhu Zhuqing was too young and inexperienced. She was just a student from Auckland. How could she possibly stand a chance against a 15-year-old, level 26, noble soul master? They couldn't help but feel sorry for her. It looked like she was about to be taken advantage of by that creep. They also looked down on Dai Yao for letting a girl fight his battles, but then, something happened that caught everyone's attention. Xue Buhui, level 26 battle soul master, martial soul snow leopard, let's go. The noble said with a lewd grin. Chapter 73 Instant Kill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 73, Instant kill. Zhu Zhuqing's toes tapped impatiently as her soul power surged. She summoned her martial soul, transforming, cat ears and a tail sprouted, her hands morphed into razor-sharp claws, and her eyes narrowed into vertical pupils. Her figure seemed to stretch taller, her curves now emphasized even by the loose-fitting clothes, but the most striking feature was the ice crystal crown materializing above her head, regal and commanding. Zhu Zhuqing's face was as icy as a snow lotus atop a mountain, untouchable, almost divine. She looked like a goddess, both ethereal and powerful. The moment Zhu Zhuqing's martial soul manifested, everyone felt an immense pressure, as if their own soul power was being frozen in place. She's incredible. What is that martial soul? I feel like mine is completely suppressed. That the exclamations were loud and frequent, but Xue Buhui, her opponent, felt it most intensely. Though the sun shone brightly, a bone-chilling cold seeped into his very being. It wasn't just his soul power, his thoughts, even his spirit, felt frozen. Zhu Zhuqing, level 22 agility attack soul master, ready for your instruction. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. It was unheard of for someone Zhu Zhuqing's age to possess such a high level of soul power. With that, Zhu Zhuqing shot forward, becoming a blur of purple as she closed the distance between them. She's so fast. Someone gasped from the crowd, her speed rivaled that of many soul lords. Xue Buhui watched Zhu Zhuqing approach, unfazed. Agility versus power, a head-on clash was a power-type soul master's bread and butter. Still wet behind the ears, he thought, while he was surprised by Zhu Zhuqing's strength, her tactics brought him comfort. Little beauty, coming in for a hug, are you? That he believed that in a direct confrontation, an attack-type soul master was unbeatable. First soul skill, Snow Knight Assault. That his first yellow soul ring ignited, and he planned to teach Zhu Zhuqing a painful lesson. His eyes narrowed, and he dropped to all fours like a hunting predator. He focused intently on Zhu Zhuqing's oncoming attack. In a flash, he exploded forward, the stored power unleashing an astonishing burst of speed. His claws ripped through the air, morphing into a white, razor-sharp blade. Unstoppable, he collided with Zhu Zhuqing. He was surprised to find that the cold emanating from her had sapped his power, but Zhu Zhuqing didn't flinch, and instead charged directly into the white blade. In that moment, everyone's eyes widened. Zhu Zhuqing's speed spiked again. With a flick of her claw against the sharp blade, the terrifying white light simply vanished. What just happened? The peculiar scene left many students bewildered. A man with a square jaw and wide nose remarked, "She just brushed off a great soul master's first soul skill. Her physical stats are insane. Is she even human?" After consuming the purple lotus, Zhu Zhuqing's martial soul wasn't the only thing that evolved. Her physical prowess had skyrocketed as well. Back in the Star Luo Empire, even Dai Yao found that his superior strength alone wasn't enough to defeat her. Remember, he trained relentlessly for 3 years, and his martial soul was the sacred white tiger, a god-level offensive spirit. Yet, he couldn't completely overpower her physically. This clearly highlighted how inhuman Zhu Zhuqing's body had become. Combined with her natural speed, Zhu Zhuqing had become a monster amongst soul masters her age. The distance closed in the blink of an eye. Zhu Zhuqing now stood before Xue Buhui. Still, Xue Buhui remained confident. Powerful attack-type soul masters never feared facing agile soul masters head-on. He raised his arms to guard himself. Zhu Zhuqing's first soul ring pulsed. First soul skill, Netherworld Thrust. As Zhu Zhuqing's claws slashed, Xue Buhui knew he'd been horribly wrong. How could someone so fast pack this much power? Even the attack-type soul masters couldn't match it. With a single blow, Zhu Zhuqing shattered his defenses. Her claws tore across his chest, leaving 3 bloody gashes in their wake. Zhu Zhuqing spun in the air and kicked Xue Buhui square in the chest. He was sent hurtling like a cannonball, crashing outside the spirit fight stage. He coughed up a mouthful of blood in mid-air. The entire fight lasted mere seconds, from the moment Zhu Zhuqing revealed her martial soul to the moment Xue Buhui hit the ground. It was over before anyone could react. The duel had ended, but the spectators remained stunned into silence. Then, a burst of raucous applause broke the spell. The students reacted with excitement, the sound deafening. Yes. He deserved that beatdown. All the pent-up frustration from before was finally unleashed. They didn't act before because they were powerless. Now that someone stood up for them, they were overjoyed and cheered Zhu Zhuqing on. The square-jawed man was particularly impressed. He was struggling to assemble the Auckland team. With the challenge from the Tiandou Royal Academy looming, no one wanted to join, even knowing the battle would be lost, and they'd be humiliated. No one volunteered, the skilled ones didn't want to participate, and the unskilled ones were simply inadequate. Forcing it would only lead to a more decisive defeat and more embarrassment for Auckland College, but now, he had someone. The students swarmed the spirit fight stage, surrounding Zhu Zhuqing with eager eyes. She was beautiful, powerful, and she'd vented their frustrations for them. She was nothing short of their goddess, but the goddess in their eyes ignored them entirely. Her face remained frozen, and her icy aura kept anyone from approaching. From outside the throng, a voice called out, "Let's go." Hearing that, the ice in their hearts melted instantly, and a beautiful smile bloomed on her face. Ignoring the commotion, she quickly escaped the crowd and followed the man. They could only see his back. The goddess walked behind him, clutching the hem of his clothes, her smile radiant like a warm spring, making her previous coldness seem like a figment of imagination. Zhu Zhuqing chatted and laughed with Dai Yao. Unaware of the heartbroken students she left behind, Xue Buhui, on the other hand, was much more miserable. He sat alone on the ground, disoriented, still reeling from the beating he'd received. Shaking his head to clear his mind, he glared at Zhu Zhuqing's retreating figure, thinking bitterly, who is she? How could Auckland Academy hide such a prodigy? Just you wait, our Tiandou Royal Academy team will teach you a lesson. Brother Yao, how was my performance? Zhu Zhuqing's eyes shone, like a child eager for praise. Not bad, very powerful, Dai Yao praised. A satisfied smile spread across Zhu Zhuqing's face. After inspecting the college and experiencing the earlier disturbance, Dai Yao and his wife finally made their way to the principal's office. Trailing behind them, the square-jawed man followed secretly. Chapter 74 Entering School. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 74, Starting School. I knocked on the principal's door. "Come in," a voice croaked from inside. I opened the door to find an old man with meticulously combed white hair and a face etched with wrinkles. He smiled, seeing us. "Well, aren't you two a couple of gatecrashers?" That he stood up, but instead of kicking us out, he dug out some cookies and snacks from a cabinet and offered them to us. "You're at the perfect age to build a good foundation. Don't goof off, get to class." That I chuckled, seeing the cookie in my hand. The old guy thought I was just a student. "Mr. Principal, we're here to enroll." The old man laughed. "Seriously? You've got guts, trying to enroll at your age." He patted my shoulder, a little patronizingly. "Look, some things just aren't meant to be. Enrollment's closed. You'll have to wait till next time." That I wasn't fazed. I pulled out Salus' letter and handed it to him. "This is a letter of recommendation from Salus, Platinum Bishop of the Spirit Hall. You should probably read it." He opened it, puzzled. The magical energy radiating off the letter was undeniable. It really was Salus' power. After reading it, he went quiet, his expression shifting from skeptical to surprised. Finally, he said, "Even with Bishop Salus' recommendation, you still need the talent to get in." He was still saying no. I had to admire the old guy's persistence. "Zhuqing," I said, "show him your spirit." She nodded slightly, her magical power surging. Her spirit manifested, and 2 yellow soul rings glowed with an arresting light. The old man, who was taking a sip of water, did a spit take. "A great soul master," he said, shocked. He stared at Zhuqing, speechless, like she was a monster. He rubbed his hands together, the rejection from before seeming like a distant memory. "Kid," he said kindly, "how old are you? What's your soul power level?" Zhuqing looked at me. I nodded. 11, she said, and a level 22 agility attack type soul master. Before we came, I told her to add a couple of years. Being a great soul master at 9 would be too unbelievable. Even at 11, it was impressive. The old man's eyes went wide. He was floored. Finally, he snapped out of it. Child, he said, your talent is beyond anything I've seen in my career. You could pick any top-tier Soul Master Academy in the Tiandou Empire, even the Royal Academy. Coming to Auckland is a disservice to you. You should really talk this over with your parents. Our school isn't the best choice. Instead of snatching up a gifted student, he was giving us genuinely good advice. He was a good teacher, no question. It was a stark contrast to Shrek Academy, which didn't admit anyone who wasn't a freak of nature. They had no facilities and no money. Without joining Lanba Academy, they wouldn't even be able to participate in the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament. The only thing they had going for them was the faculty. Principal, I said, we can make our own decisions. We can't join the Royal Academy, for personal reasons. In that case, he said, stroking his beard, Auckland would be thrilled to have you. Oh, and what's your soul power level? He asked me. Around the same as Zhu Zhuqing's, level 23. The old man clapped his hands together and grinned. He practically dragged us into the reception room, sat us down, and started rummaging through boxes, pulling out every snack he could find. Anything you want, I'll make it happen. Simulation training, resources, even hunting spirit beasts, if I've got it, you can have it, he promised. I nodded to myself. That's how geniuses get treated. Just then, there was a knock at the door. It was a guy with a square jaw and a broad nose. Principal, he said with a sheepish smile. Come in, Qianli, the old man said, beaming. Dai Yao, Zhu Qing, this is Feng Qianli, captain of our Oakland team. He's not quite as advanced as you two at your age, but he's still a talented soul master. Before the old man could finish the introduction, Feng Qianli cut in, no need, principal. I already met them. That fighting spirit was something else. Zhu Qing put me to shame. Fighting spirit? What fighting spirit? The old man asked. The Royal Academy team sent us a challenge. Their guy was arrogant, talking trash about our academy. Some students took it personally and proposed a duel. A few of them went up, but they got wiped out pretty quickly. Then he started on Zhu Qing, and she stepped up. She's young, but the fight was amazing. And then she took him down in one move. One move. Ugh, the Royal Academy is always pulling this. Picking on Auckland to build themselves up. The old man was getting annoyed. Principal, Feng Qianli said, I'm here to complain. The duel is coming up fast, but I can't even put a team together. After hearing that we were up against the Royal Academy, everyone backed out. That's terrible. Running away from a strong opponent. What kind of soul masters are they? The old man looked serious, then he looked at us and started to laugh, pointing at Feng Qianli. So that's your angle. Feng Qianli just smiled. The old man turned to us, looking helpless. Dai Yao, Zhu Qing, you heard the situation. If you don't want to join the team, just say so. Feng Qianli started to protest, but the old man stopped him. It's their choice. Don't interfere, he said. I looked at Feng Qianli. He must be the talented soul master from Auckland that Lan Yuxuan had mentioned. They were probably letting him participate in this competition to mature him for the next one. He was obviously highly valued, becoming captain of the Auckland team. With Zhu Qing and me, that made 3 soul masters who could stand up to the Royal Academy's main team. As long as the rest of the team wasn't terrible, we should make it through the qualifiers. I smiled and nodded. I came to Auckland specifically for the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament. Getting a chance to go up against the Royal Academy is a dream come true. Chapter 75 Teammates Full of Fear. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 75, Team Full of Fear. Dai Yao and his companion finished registration, chose their dorms, and then followed Feng Qianli to the Auckland team's facilities. As they walked, Feng Qianli pointed out the different buildings, clearly very familiar with the college. Eventually, the conversation turned to the upcoming duel. Now that you've joined, Feng Qianli said, we finally have a full 7-member team. Dai Yao asked, have you gathered intel on the Tiandou royal team? Of course. That's precisely why we're in such a bind, Feng Qianli replied, sounding frustrated. The royal fighting team has 7 members. The captain is Yu Tianheng, with the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex martial soul. He's a level 29 attack-type battle soul master with 2 yellow soul rings. The vice-captain is Du Guyan, with the Jade Scale Snake martial soul. She's a level 28 control system battle soul master, also with 2 yellow soul rings. Shi Mo is a team member, with the Xuanwu turtle martial soul. He's a level 28 defense-type battle soul master, with 2 yellow soul rings. There's also Yufeng, whose martial soul is the wind chime bird. He's a level 26 agility attack-type battle soul master with 2 yellow soul rings. Oslo has the ghost leopard martial spirit, and he is a level 26 agility attack-type battle soul master, with 2 spirit rings. And finally, there's Yi Lengleng, whose martial soul is the 9-heart begonia. She's a level 25 support-type weapon soul master, with 2 yellow soul rings. That's the most recent information we have. I heard that Captain Yu Tianheng has broken through level 30. He just hasn't had time to get his 3rd soul ring because of the duel. Otherwise, we'd just forfeit. Feng Qianli's expression grew serious as he listed the names. Most of these 7 have top-tier martial souls, especially Yu Tianheng and Du Guyan. Yu Tianheng is from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, one of the top 3 sections. He has one of the best beast martial souls, and his attacks are terrifying. He's the one all the colleges dread. Du Guyan is Poison Douluo's granddaughter. Her poison skills are unmatched among soul masters of the same level. Even soul sages don't take her lightly. Her presence allows the Tiandou royal team to dominate on both offense and defense. On offense, they use Yu Tianheng as a spear, and his beast spirit can tear opponents to shreds. On defense, they use Du Guyan's poison as a shield, keeping everyone at bay. Dai Yao turned serious, however. As long as there wasn't a soul sage, Dai Yao didn't fear them. He was confident he was invincible among great soul masters. He was eager to go up against Yu Tianheng, witness this so-called best beast spirit, and show everyone what's what. Feng Qianli was right. Yu Tianheng and Du Guyan warranted special attention, but Dai Yao knew there was another person worth noting, that was Yi Lengleng. In the original story, Ning Rongrong said that if there hadn't been so few 9-heart begonia masters, the title of the best support martial soul might not have gone to the 7-treasure Glaze tile school. The 9-heart begonia was a unique and powerful spirit, in the original work. If Tang San hadn't cheated and used the 8 spider soul bones, the victory would have been far from guaranteed. However, Dai Yao didn't tell Feng Qianli any of this. First, it would be difficult to explain where he got the information. Second, everyone was already under enough pressure, and there was no need to make matters worse. Soon, they arrived at the team's training area. It was a small spirit fighting arena with a closed roof, fine during the day with sunlight, but lit by lamps at night. 3 white flags hung from the tall roof, each embroidered with the Auckland school emblem. The flags fluttered, and as Dai Yao stepped into the arena's entrance, he noticed Feng Qianli looking up at the flags with reverence. "What's this?" Dai Yao asked, pointing to the flags. "These are flags from the first 3 mainland Soul Master Academy competitions. Our academy team's flag is a symbol of our academy's glory," Feng Qianli said excitedly. "Now, the Tiandou Royal Academy wants to trample on our honor. Even if I give it my all, I'll hold them back." His voice was strong and determined. Dai Yao couldn't help but be taken aback. "The honor of the academy? Something worth protecting with everything you've got." Feng Qianli led them into the spirit fighting arena. 4 men and 1 woman were standing on the field, sighing constantly, while another person was fast asleep on the sofa next to them. Seeing Feng Qianli enter, 3 of the men and the woman quickly gathered around, looking at Dai Yao and Zhu Zhuqing expectantly. Feng Qianli said helplessly, "Zhu Zhuqing, agility attack type soul master." Hearing agility attack type soul master, one of the skinny men jumped up and exclaimed, "I'm free. Finally, someone to take my place," but the others looked disappointed inside. "What's going on?" Dai Yao asked. Feng Qianli smiled bitterly and said, because no one wants to face the Tiandou Royal Academy tomorrow. These people even want to quit the Auckland team. As long as someone joins, soul masters of the same type can withdraw. This guy's agility attack type. With Zhu Zhuqing joining, he can leave. Dai Yao was silent. He hadn't expected one match to scare the Auckland team so badly. He couldn't help but wonder if choosing Auckland Academy was the right decision. Seeing Dai Yao's reaction, Feng Qianli sighed. When he saw the sleeping figure on the sofa, he suddenly became angry. He strode over to the sofa and kicked it over. The figure fell to the ground, waking up, and snapped, "What the hell? There's a match coming up, and you're still being lazy." Feng Qianli said angrily. The person on the ground saw it was Feng Qianli. "Too lazy to get up," he said, "so what if there's a match? Everyone wants to quit. What's the use of me trying?" "You." Feng Qianli was angry and helpless, knowing the guy was right. "Get up. We have a new recruit." "A new recruit?" The person on the ground glanced at the door and saw Zhu Zhuqing's cold figure. He groaned, stood up, patted the dust off his body, and hurried over to her, saying obsequiously, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Dai Yuani. I have the Green Rainbow Sword Martial Soul and I am a level 27 attack type soul master. What might your name be?" Dai Yao immediately stepped in front of Zhu Zhuqing, looking at Dai Yuani coldly, his soul power surging, and he released the aura of the sacred white tiger martial soul. Everyone's expression changed. The oppressive feeling of the martial soul was too much. They looked at Dai Yao with fear. Dai Yao said coldly, "She's with me. If you dare to say another word, you'll regret it." In the Star Luo Empire, he might swallow his anger when he wasn't strong enough, but here, in the Tiandou Empire, he wouldn't tolerate anyone's casual hostility. Chapter 76: A Helpless Strategy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 76: A Long Shot in the Dark. Feng Qianli quickly grabbed Dai Yuani's ear, apologizing, "Sorry, Dai Yao, this guy's got rocks in his head." Dai Yuani, wincing in pain, blurted out, Okay. I get it, I was wrong. If I'd known she was taken, I wouldn't have even looked at her." Dai Yao gave Dai Yuani a cold stare. She found him to be a bit much, and frankly, embarrassing. "You got that right." Seeing that Dai Yao wasn't going to press the issue, Feng Qianli secretly sighed in relief. "Now that everyone's here, let's get prepped for tomorrow's match. How about we introduce ourselves first?" During introductions, Dai Yao learned everyone's names and the nature of their martial souls. Luo Ling, the woman with shoulder-length hair, was an auxiliary soul master. Her amplifying staff martial soul could specifically boost the power of other soul masters. She was at level 23 soul power. The tall, lanky man, Luo Feng, was a control soul master with the Aoki Vine martial soul, at level 24. Finally, the short guy, Douluo, was an agility attack soul master, wielding the Qing Yan martial soul, and sat at level 22. Dai Yao felt a knot forming in her stomach as she heard these introductions. Their martial souls were so ordinary, and their soul power levels were nowhere near those of the Heavendou royal team. Only Feng Qianli and Dai Yuani seemed remotely promising. Feng Qianli, at level 29, wielded the Xuanwu turtle martial soul, same as the Shi brothers from the Star Luo royal team, making him a defensive battles soul master. However, Feng Qianli's was a mutated version. Dai Yuani, at level 28, had the Azure Rainbow Sword martial soul, making him an attack-type battles soul master. Weapon-based martial souls were known for their offense, and swords were among the best, second to none when it came to sheer attacking power. "I'm Dai Yao, Holy White Tiger martial soul, level 23, attack-type battles soul master. And I'm Zhu Zhuqing, Nethercat martial soul, level 20, agility attack soul master." Even with their relatively lower levels, no one dared underestimate them. Dai Yao's brief display of her martial soul's aura had been enough to overwhelm everyone present. Luo Ling, suddenly realizing something, asked, "How old are you two?" "We're both 11, Dai Yao replied. A collective gasp filled the air, reaching the great soul master level at just 11 years old. Luo Ling gave a wry smile. With that kind of talent, you could easily get into the Tiandou Royal Academy. Why come to Oakland Academy? Personal reasons. Seeing Dai Yao wasn't inclined to elaborate, no one pressed further. After everyone had gotten acquainted, Feng Qianli gathered the team. We have a duel tomorrow, he stated. Even though we just formed, the Tiandou Royal team is just as new. Their teamwork can't be much better than ours. Our mission, hold out for 10 minutes. We can accept losing, but we can't accept going down without a fight. We may know we'll lose, but we won't let them look down on us. Feng Qianli's words rang with conviction. Does everyone know the intel on the other team? Feng Qianli asked. We know, came the reply. All right. As captain, I'll lay out our strategy for tomorrow. After that, we'll run through some drills and then get some rest so we can be ready for the match. Their strongest player is Yu Tianheng. Dai Yuanyi, you're on him, Feng Qianli ordered. No sweat, Dai Yuanyi replied with a yawn, his tone indifferent. His nonchalant attitude bothered Dai Yao. Dai Yuanyi might have a good martial soul and decent soul power, but trying to block Yu Tianheng, who wielded one of the best beast martial souls, seemed like wishful thinking. Feng Qianli continued, I'll take on the Shi brothers. We're all Xuanwu turtles, so it's a destined showdown. Dai Yao and Zhu Zhuqing, you two will handle Yu Feng and Osluo. Their soul power is higher than yours, so be careful. Feng Qianli made a point of emphasizing this. He, too, was a talented student who participated in the soul fighting competition early. He had inherited the hopes of his predecessors. Now, he was placing his hope on Dai Yao and Dai Yao. As long as they go through the experience of this competition, Dai Yao and Dai Yao will succeed in the next one. Will become the mainstay of the Auckland team. He was counting on Dai Yao and Zhu Zhuqing. Since their soul power was lower, he'd assigned them to two slightly weaker soul masters. Finally, Luo Feng, you're stuck with De Guyen. Don't engage her head-on, just stall. Do Yu, your job is to protect Luo Ling. With her support, Dai Yuanyi can actually hold off Yu Tianheng. Given their dire situation, Feng Qianli's strategy was probably the best they could hope for, but Dai Yao wasn't optimistic. Except for himself, everyone was at a distinct disadvantage. Could Dai Yuanyi really stop Yu Tianheng? Could Feng Qianli hold off the Shi brothers? And most of all, could Luo Feng possibly contain De Guyen? Forget it, no use dwelling on it. Even though he didn't hold out much hope, there was still a chance, and it rested on their soul fusion skill, Netherworld White Tiger. By now, practice had dragged on late into the night. After a brief cool-down session, everyone said their goodbyes and headed back to their dorms. Male and female students were housed separately, but Dai Yao and Dai Yao were considered geniuses, so they'd been assigned the same room. It was huge, easily over 1,000 square feet. Apparently, it used to be a teacher's residence. After a quick wash, they turned in. Zhu Zhuqing, in the upper bunk, leaned over the railing, her black hair cascading down. Brother Yao, she said to Dai Yao below, I feel so weird. No one here seems to have it out for me. Isn't that a good thing? I don't know, it just feels strange. Her eyes were like stars in the darkness. It's called a normal environment, Dai Yao sighed. The oppressive atmosphere of the Star Luo Empire was no place for a normal person. No wonder Dai Mubai had bolted. After a long pause, Zhu Zhuqing spoke again. Brother Yao, do you think we're going to lose for sure tomorrow? The others seem convinced we will. I don't know. Let's just do our best. No point worrying about the outcome. Dai Yao was actually looking forward to the match. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon, the best beast spirit. I'm going to challenge you with the Holy White Tiger, to see whose spirit is stronger. Zhu Zhuqing nodded. Hearing Dai Yao's answer put her more at ease. She turned and snuggled under the covers. The night passed quietly. Early the next morning, Oakland College was buzzing with anticipation. The match between the Tiandou Royal team and the Oakland team had drawn a crowd, even attracting Platinum Bishop Salas of the Spirit Hall, and Ning Fengji, leader of the Seven Treasure Glaze Tile School, the second most influential sect in the world. The news of these VIPs stunned everyone. It was just a routine match between two schools. Why did it attract these two people? Ning Fengji was understandable, given his close ties to the Heaven-Dou Empire. He wanted to see what the Heaven-Dou royal team could do, but the Spirit Hall had always kept to itself in the Heaven-Dou Empire. Why was Platinum Bishop Salas here to watch this game? Many people were wondering the same thing. Chapter 77 7 Treasure Glaze. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 77 7 Treasures Glaze, Auckland College, the 7-person spirit fight arena. Since the competition was at Auckland College, most of the spectators were students from there. Plenty of students from Tiandou Royal Academy also showed up, eager to see their team in action and cheer them on, but let's be honest, they mostly wanted to see a blowout victory. Besides students from the two academies, many others came from various schools, including those from the Five Elements Academy. After all, the Tiandou Royal Academy team represented the Tiandou Empire and was considered the top Soul Master team among the advanced Soul Master academies. This was a prime opportunity to scout the Empire's best young talent. Students from other schools sympathized with Auckland College because the Tiandou Royal Academy team planned to challenge several other schools after facing them. The best seats in the house were reserved and spruced up as a VIP section. The three most distinguished guests sat there. In the center sat Jackson, the principal of Auckland College. The same old man Dai Yao had met recently, while not the most important person. There, as the head of Auckland, he took the center seat. To Jackson's left was a refined and elegant man, dressed in a silver cloud-patterned robe, sporting a silver cloud crown, and with a face like jade. He leaned on an ornate, ball-topped cane. His mere presence drew cheers from the crowd. It was none other than Ning Fengji, the top auxiliary soul master in the world. Beside him sat a girl in a beautiful light blue dress, Ning Rongrong, sect leader Ning's daughter. Ning Rongrong pouted. "Dad, why bother with this game? I'd rather be back at the sect, hanging out with Grandpa Jian and Grandpa Bone." Ning Fengji smiled gently. "You'd just be tormenting those two again." "No way. Grandpa Jian and Grandpa Bone love playing with me." Exposed by her father, Ning Rongrong blushed and tugged at his arm playfully. All right, I won't tell." Her daughter's antics made Ning Fengji chuckle. Then, he turned serious. "Rongrong, do you know why I wanted to watch this match today?" "Why?" Ning Rongrong's blue eyes were full of curiosity. "Because of the auxiliary soul master on the Tiandou Royal Academy team." "An auxiliary soul master? Isn't our 7 treasures glazed pagoda spirit the best there is? Why would we care about another auxiliary soul master?" Ning Rongrong clung to Ning Fengji's arm, pressing her question. Ning Fengji explained patiently, "That girl's spirit is called the Nine-Hearted Begonia. Unlike other spirits, the Nine-Hearted Begonia is passed down through a single lineage, with only one successor per generation. Only 2 Nine-Hearted Begonia spirit masters can be alive at any one time. Only upon the death of one can another appear among the descendants. It's considered one of the rarest spirits. The Nine-Hearted Begonia has only one ability, regardless of how many soul rings the master possesses. There's only one soul skill, group healing. The higher the level and the more soul power, the more effective the healing. With a Nine-Hearted Begonia spirit master around, it's incredibly hard to die. If Nine-Hearted Begonia soul masters weren't so rare, they'd be our 7 treasures glazed sect's biggest competition." Ning Fengji's expression turned solemn. Ning Rongrong nodded, and seeing her father's serious face, grew interested in seeing this auxiliary soul master. To Jackson's right was Salas, the platinum bishop of the Tiandou Empire's Spirit Hall. He was strikingly thin, like a javelin, with one hand resting on the armrest and eyes half closed. The Spirit Hall typically avoided involvement in the Tiandou Empire's Soul Master Academy affairs. Jackson was surprised by Salas's presence today, but quickly realized he was there for Dai Yao. Dai Yao had used Salas's letter of introduction when he came to Auckland College. But Ning Fengji was unaware. After a bit of playful banter with Ning Rongrong, Ning Fengji turned to Salas. "The Spirit Hall doesn't usually involve itself in the Tiandou Empire's affairs. What brings Bishop Salas here today?" Salas opened his eyes and met Ning Fengji's slightly chilly gaze. those who opposed the Spirit Hall were primarily the two empires and then the top 3 sects among the 7 major sections. Ning Fengji, the leader of the second most powerful sect, was a staunch opponent of the Spirit Hall. Salas offered a wry smile. "Can't I come if sect leader Ning is here?" Ning Fengji didn't take the bait. He smiled warmly, diffusing the hostility in Salas's words. "No, Bishop Salas, don't misunderstand me." Salas's eyes flashed with appreciation, but it was a pity such a talented individual had to stand against the Spirit Hall. "I came to see someone." "Oh. Care to share who?" Ning Fengji was intrigued. Salas simply smiled cryptically and didn't answer. "Ugh, whatever. Being all mysterious. Who knows what he's even looking at?" Ning Rongrong pouted, annoyed. Time passed quickly, and the competition was about to begin. The Tiandou royal team lounged in their room, 7 distinct individuals with their own unique characteristics. They all looked around 15 years old. A man in a blue suit sat in the center of the sofa. He had long black hair and a lean build. Far from handsome, he sat with his eyes closed, radiating danger. Occasionally, he opened them, revealing eyes that sparkled with a thunderous light. It was terrifying. A woman was also lounging on the sofa, her short, dark purple hair framing her seductive eyes. She rested, but her eyes occasionally fluttered open, gazing at the man with admiration. That's the 15th time Yenzi's looked at the boss. "When are those two going to get together?" A handsome young man spoke, short, and of medium build with spiky blonde hair, his eyes sparkling with life. He whispered into the ear of a man in black. "Get away from me. If you want to rile up Yenzi, leave me out of it." The man in black quickly moved away from the blonde. The woman on the sofa glanced over, a charming smile gracing her lips. "Yufeng, want me to look at you more?" "No." Yufeng backed away in horror, waving his hands frantically before turning on the man in black. "Oslo, how dare you betray me? I challenge you to a duel." Oslo snorted. "You, a flying soul master, challenging a ground-based soul master to a duel? Are you trying to show off? If you dueled the boss, I'd take your loss even if you lasted 3 minutes. That's enough, quiet down. Can't you be as calm as the Shi brothers?" The man on the sofa finally spoke. He was referring to 2 silent men sitting cross-legged in the corner. Like Feng Qianli, they had square faces and wide noses. Their mere presence conveyed a sense of steadfast reliability. The man in blue was Yu Tianheng. Yu Feng and Oslo grinned sheepishly. Yu Tianheng stood up and addressed the team. "Today, we face Auckland College. Auckland College isn't very strong. Their best fighter is probably a Xuanwu tortoise soul master named Feng Qianli." The words, Xuanwu tortoise, sparked a light in the Shi brothers' eyes. They exchanged a glance before jumping in. "Boss, leave Feng Qianli to us." Yu Tianheng smiled. "That's what I was thinking." He continued, "The other thing to watch out for is Dai Yuani. He has a sword-type spirit with good attack power. Anything else we need to know about our opponents? Any thoughts, speak up." Yufeng raised an eyebrow. "I heard the Auckland team just put together 7 people yesterday. 2 of them just joined Auckland Academy. They probably heard they were up against us and nobody wanted to join, so they roped in a couple of freshmen. Boss, Auckland is just a joke. No need to take them seriously." Yufeng's words dripped with disdain for Auckland. "Shut up." Yu Tianheng said coldly. He surveyed the room, his voice filled with authority. "Our enemy isn't Auckland College. It's arrogance. I know Auckland Academy is weaker than us, but Auckland is just an appetizer. Our real enemies are the 5 Elements Academy, the Star Luo Royal Academy team, and even the Spirit Hall team. Challenging the Imperial City's advanced Soul Master Academies isn't just about promoting the royal family's prestige. It's also an opportunity to hone our skills. After we've crushed all the academies, we'll compete in the external soul dueling competition and work towards our goal of becoming a silver soul fighting team. Whether it's soul power or martial prowess, we outclass ordinary soul master academies." Beating them is nothing to write home about. But arrogance will drag us all down. We need to go all out in every battle. We can't give our opponents any chance. That Yufeng felt a cold sweat break out on his back. Sorry, boss. It's fine. Underestimating your opponent is natural, especially for arrogant people like us. But this is our first battle. There's no room for error, so we need to be sharp. That Yu Tianheng smiled. Yufeng felt ashamed. The Shi brothers nodded in the corner, and even the woman in the shadows, clad in black gauze, nodded approvingly. As for the seductive Du Guyan on the sofa, the admiration in her eyes intensified. Just then, the door opened, and a young man entered. He was of average appearance, dressed in simple black, and had exceptionally bright eyes. Teacher. The seven spoke as one. It was Qin Ming. Nearing 30, he was close to becoming a sole emperor. If he could break through in the next couple of years, he'd be the second youngest sole emperor in the continent's history. The students of Tiandou Royal Academy were all arrogant geniuses, but compared to Qin Ming, they didn't measure up. It was no surprise they respected him so much. Qin Ming clapped his hands, praising Yu Tianheng. Excellent. You have the best talent and temperament. Tianheng is a qualified captain for the Tiandou Royal Academy. He quickly straightened out his careless teammates who underestimated the enemy. Tianheng, you did a great job. He turned to the team. Yufeng, you need to change your frivolous nature. Hearing Qin Ming's criticism, Yufeng chuckled sheepishly, looking embarrassed. Seeing everyone's high morale, Qin Ming nodded. Leng Leng, you'll be participating in this match too. Including Leng Leng gives us our strongest lineup and an extra layer of security. Yes, teacher. Yi Ling replied. This is our first game. There's no room for mistakes. Qin Ming surveyed the room. The 7 members of the Tiandou royal team felt Qin Ming's conviction and replied loudly, yes, teacher. Qin Ming nodded happily. Go, children, win this victory for the empire. Chapter 78. The match begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oakland Team Lounge. Dai Yao, pumped and ready to take on Yu Tianheng, was up before dawn. But when he got to the lounge, someone was already there. Well, good morning, sunshine. A voice came from behind him. The guy turned around, surprised to see Dai Yao and his crew. He raised an eyebrow, his tone dripping with sarcasm. It was Dai Yuani, OG edition. Morning. Dai Yao was taken aback. He hadn't expected Dai Yuani to be the early bird. He'd never been a fan of Dai Yuani, a shallow, useless playboy. Yesterday, when Feng Qinli suggested Dai Yuani for the marriage to Yu Tianheng, Dai Yao had serious doubts about whether he was up to the task. He'd considered stepping in himself to face Yu Tianheng, but seeing his teammates made him reconsider. To make a real run in the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament, he needed more than just his own strength. His teammates had to be solid too, so, he decided to hold back and see how the Oakland team fared against the Royal Fighter team, how long they could even last. If Dai Yuani turned out to be a total joke, he could always transfer schools. If that didn't work, he could jump ship to the Spirit Hall team, but no way he was going to Lamba Academy. Even if he knew the original storyline, knew that sticking with the Shrek 7 Devils could lead to becoming a title Douluo, or even a god. The thought of calling Tang San third brother just didn't sit right with Dai Yao. Tang San got away with so much messed up stuff in the original story and was still hailed as a hero. No way. He, Dai Yao, had a twin martial spirit, a sacred white tiger, a potential god-level martial spirit. Why should he be Tang San's sidekick? And let's not forget, as soon as things stabilized in the Heaven Do Empire, Tang San's first move was to raid the ice and fire Yin Yang well for its rare herbs. Selfish much? Hearing Dai Yuani's greeting, Dai Yao ignored him. But Zhu Zhuqing was pissed, giving Dai Yuani a stone-cold glare. Her icy stare seemed to bore right through him. Dai Yuani flinched, instinctively backing away from Zhu Zhuqing. What did I do to piss her off? Is Dai Yao a player or something? He wondered. Soon after, the rest of the Oakland team showed up. After a quick warm-up, Feng Qinli announced, in this match, give it everything you've got. We're probably going to lose, but let's go down swinging. Yeah, everyone threw their hands in, a determined look in their eyes. When it was game time, the 7 of them walked out of the lounge and headed for the contestant tunnel of the Soul Fighting Arena. Following the announcer's introductions, the team members walked into the arena one by one. Next up, a Soul Master prodigy who reached level 23 at the tender age of 11, Dai Yao, the announcer's voice boomed through the Soul amplifier. Your turn, Feng Qianli said with a smile. Dai Yao nodded, taking a deep breath. As he neared the exit, the light grew brighter, the deafening cheers louder and louder. He stepped out of the tunnel into a shower of confetti, surrounded by students in white Oakland uniforms, all cheering for him. 11 years old, level 23, what a genius. If he can compete in 2 Continental Soul Master Elite tournaments, Oakland might actually have a shot at glory. All eyes were on Dai Yao, filled with hope. He looked around at the roaring crowd and couldn't help but grin. This isn't bad at all, he thought. Back in the Star Luo Empire, everyone doubted him. He felt like he was fighting the world alone. Now, with all this support, he was buzzing with excitement. He stepped onto the Soul Fighting Arena and joined his teammates. Up in the VIP box, Ning Fengji watched Dai Yao, a hint of admiration in his eyes. Oakland is lucky to have such a talented Soul Master, he said to Jackson. He might actually make some noise in the next continental competition. Jackson, trying to play it cool, forced a humble tone. Lucky, just lucky. He turned to Salas, bowing slightly. I have to thank Bishop Salas for this. Without him, such a prodigy might never have come to Oakland. Ning Fengji's eyes narrowed slightly, then he smiled. Bishop Salas, is this the Soul Master you were so excited about? Salas, who had been half asleep, straightened up, his eyes glued to the arena. Hearing Ning Fengji's question, he just stroked his beard, giving nothing away. Hee, if that fat Ferdinand isn't lying, they're all going to be shocked when they see that 1,000-year soul ring. Salas was already savoring the looks of astonishment. Soon, all 7 members of the Oakland team were on the platform. When Zhu Zhuqing entered, it unleashed another wave of cheers from the Oakland students. Zhu Zhuqing's beauty and aloofness had already won her countless admirers, and the announcer's hype about her genius just added fuel to the fire. She was beautiful and strong, and a lot of guys' hearts were pounding a little faster. The arena suddenly fell silent, everyone's attention focused on the opposite tunnel, the Royal Fighter team. The announcer's voice noticeably perked up as he introduced the Royal Fighter team. A smattering of polite applause greeted each member of the Imperial Academy as they stepped onto the stage. The Oakland crowd's enthusiasm was fading fast. When Yu Tianheng strolled onto the Soul Fighting platform, the Oakland students' faces were grim. The match hadn't even started, but the Royal Fighter team already exuded an aura of overwhelming pressure, making the Auckland team feel like they couldn't breathe. With both teams in place, the host handed the microphone to Principal Jackson. After a few opening remarks, Principal Jackson passed the mic to Ning Fengji. Everyone craned their necks, eager to catch a glimpse of the world's top support Soul Master. Yi Lenglang from the Royal Dou team also looked up, but there was a hint of hostility in her gaze. Soul Master Academy students, I know you're all looking forward to the match, so I won't keep you waiting. I wish both teams the best and hope they put on a great show for everyone. His words were met with thunderous applause. Everyone was buzzing with excitement after hearing Ning Fengji speak. Typical Ning Fengji, the best support Soul Master in the world. Just his words can make everyone go wild. Dai Yao grumbled to himself. Ning Fengji then tried to hand the microphone to Salas, but Salas waved him off, declining to speak. Being too flashy in the Heaven Dou Empire was a bad idea. Once the microphone was back with the host, the atmosphere in the arena heated up. The Oakland team glared at the Royal Fighter team with fiery determination, while the Royal Fighter team seemed indifferent, barely acknowledging their opponents. Yu Feng even snorted, turning away in disdain. Chapter 79: A One-Sided Battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 79: A Lopsided Battle. The ref gave the signal, and the air in the arena crackled with tension. Feng Qianli barked, "All right team, spirits out." Instantly, the arena exploded with light as each member summoned their spirit. A thick shell materialized on Feng Qianli, planting him firmly at the front, his gaze laser-focused on the Royal Dou twins, Dai Yuanyi, Gripping his sword a short distance from Feng Qianli, shed his usual flippant demeanor and adopted a serious expression. Behind him, Luo Ling raised a crimson staff, her first soul ring ablaze, bathing Dai Yuanyi in red light. Dai Yuanyi's aura surged noticeably, even surprising Yu Tianheng. Luo Feng stood at the center, surrounded by verdant vines. Two sets of wings sprouted from Douyu's back, lifting him into the air, a protective guardian behind Luo Ling. Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Yao flanked the group on either side. When Zhu Zhuqing unleashed her spirit, all eyes snapped to her. The oppressive aura of the nether cat spirit sent shivers down the spines of the Imperial fighting team. Oslo, glancing worriedly at Yu Tianheng, said, "Captain, that girl looks like trouble. Relax. Her spirit power is too low to be a real threat. We'll overpower her with our level advantage." Yu Tianheng stated calmly. What puzzled everyone was Dai Yao's lack of action. He hadn't summoned his spirit. Through repeated fights, Dai Yao had developed a habit of using Baji Burst's unexpected dark energy to cause damage. Baji Burst was his self-created spirit skill, and did not require the use of martial arts. He wanted to gauge his teammate's strength. If he summoned his spirit, the imposing sacred white tiger and its 1,000-year spirit ring would undoubtedly draw the opponent's focus. As a result, the judgment of the strength of the Auckland team is greatly inaccurate. He'd already promised his teammates he'd try to catch their opponents off guard with his own skills, so no one questioned his choice not to summon his spirit. With the exception of Dai Yao, the remaining 5 members boasted the best possible spirit ring configurations. Only Doulu had a weak white and yellow spirit ring set up. The arena was filled with brilliant yellow light as the soul rings pulsed with power, sending ripples through the crowd. Yu Tianheng, hearing the cheers from the Auckland students, sneered. "Alright guys, let's show them what we've got." *Buzz***.14 yellow soul rings, displayed the ideal soul ring configuration, appeared from the 7 members of the royal fighting team. Up front, thunder crackled as the blue lightning tyrant dragon materialized. The arena fell silent, the very sky seeming to darken. Flanking Yu Tianheng were the 2 stone-milled graphite brothers, like a pair of impenetrable walls, blocking the Auckland team's momentum. The same black tortoise spirits locked eyes with Feng Qianli, radiating intense battle intent. Oslo's ghost leopard spirit lurked to the left, while the wind chime bird spirit soared high to the right, and Du Guyen took center stage. At the very rear of the Imperial battle team, a 9-hearted begonia slowly bloomed. "That's a 9-hearted begonia spirit," Ning Fengji murmured to Ning Rongrong. Yes, Ning Rongrong, usually so eccentric, was unusually composed. She could sense the threat the 9-hearted begonia spirit posed to her 7-treasure Glaze tile spirit. With spirits unleashed and orders barked, the 2 teams charged into battle. The first clash came between Dai Yuanyi and Yu Tianheng. Dai Yuanyi yelled, his first soul ring flaring. Sword Chi. Several streaks of sword-shaped energy, gleaming with chilling light, hurtled toward Yu Tianheng. Yu Tianheng just smirked, finally opening his usually clenched hand. His dragon claw crackled with lightning as he casually plucked the sword energy out of the air, crushing it in his fist. The audience gasped at Yu Tianheng's display of power. Most soul masters couldn't have handled that sword energy, but Yu Tianheng hadn't just blocked it, he'd done it with ease. Meanwhile, Feng Qianli and the Mo brothers were locked in combat. The strange patterns on the black tortoise shell glowed constantly, pulsing with a mysterious rhythm. 2 against 1, the same spirit power level. Feng Qianli was at a disadvantage from the start. The Mo brothers' relentless attacks kept Feng Qianli on the defensive. Despite seeming unable to retaliate, Feng Qianli's strong defense, as well as the black tortoise spirit, meant that Feng Qianli remained unharmed throughout their skirmishes. In the battle of control-type soul masters, Du Guyen smiled sweetly, staring at Luo Feng with a cold, snake-like gaze that sent shivers down his spine. The gap in martial arts left Luo Feng without the courage to fight. These 3 paths were at a huge disadvantage from the beginning of the battle. Dai Yuanyi was even able to hold off Yu Tianheng with the help of the auxiliary soul master Luo Ling. No, it was because Yu Tianheng had no intention of taking action that the Dai Yuan had been delayed until now. Yi Lenglang, at the back of the Imperial fighting team, watched the battle indifferently without taking any action. The strength of the Imperial fighting team plunged all Auckland students into despair. The soul fighting field was silent, except for the students of the Imperial Academy who were in high spirits, but Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Yao made the Huangdou team feel a bit troublesome. When Oslo and Zhu Zhuqing engaged on the left, his expression turned ashen as he realized how badly he'd misjudged her. A terrifying chill spread through his body, crippling his strength. Not only was this girl fast, but her physical strength was comparable to an attack-type soul master. Damn it, what kind of monster is this? How could Auckland College have such a genius? Oslo thought, seeing the battle situation on Oslo's side. Zhu Zhuqing frowned and said, "Osro, what are you doing? This is a battle, don't be pity." Amidst Zhu Zhuqing's violent attacks, Oslo couldn't find the time to reply, so he could only continue to use his soul power to deal with it. He was forced back towards his own team, and Zhu Zhuqing was forced to create distance between them. Oslo gasped for breath, telling Zhu Zhuqing, "I'm not holding back. This girl is too strong. My superior spirit power is useless, all I can do is hold her off." Hearing Oslo's words and seeing the fear in his eyes, Zhu Zhuqing realized he wasn't lying. Oslo was the most formidable agility-based soul master in the entire Royal Academy. Zhu Zhuqing was not only a few years younger but several spirit power levels below him. Yet she was thrashing Oslo, leaving him unable to fight back. Just who is she? Zhu Zhuqing wondered, but the battle between Yufeng and Dai Yao shocked her even more. From the start, Yufeng had looked down on the Auckland team. Seeing a kid like Dai Yao standing before him, he burst out laughing. "Is this all Auckland has left? Sending out a kid like you? Maybe if you just stay out of the way, you can avoid getting hurt." Yufeng cackled. Before Dai Yao could reply, his spirit power surged, and he exploded forward, a lightning bolt of motion, twisting his body and clenching his fist as he attacked. So fast. Yufeng gasped. His speed rivaled Oslo's. But he quickly recovered his composure. "Idiot. Trying to go head-to-head with me? You're overestimating yourself. In that case, I'll humor you." The wind chime bird flapped its wings and dove from the sky, its first spirit ring glowing brightly. Wing blade. The wings sliced through the air like knives, creating a piercing shriek that made many in the audience wince and cover their ears. Just then, Dai Yao stomped the ground. Cracks spread like spiderwebs across the arena floor as he leaped into the air to meet Yufeng's descent. Explosive step. Dai Yao's spirit flared in the air, his spirit power surging like a river, focusing on his fist. Baji burst. Dai Yao bellowed, his punch creating a deafening sonic boom that reverberated through the arena. Thud. Star. Dai Yao flipped in the air, landing on his feet and using the momentum to launch another explosive step, hurtling toward the airborne Yufeng. Yufeng's wind-controlling wings were searing with pain, the sensation quickly spreading throughout his body. Through his inverted vision, he saw Dai Yao charging again, that terrifying fist aimed straight at him. He was terrified, the pain paralyzing him as he plummeted to the ground. Seeing one of their own about to fall, cheers erupted from the arena. Zhu Zhuqing spun around, yelling, "Leng Leng." Yi nodded, and from the back of the Imperial team, the nine-hearted begonia bloomed. Yufeng, still airborne, suddenly felt the pain subside. He flapped his wings, barely managing to regain altitude and dodge Dai Yao's punch. Yufeng hung in the air, shaken. The terror of that moment made his heart pound. Looking back, he broke out in a cold sweat. Chapter 80 Sacrifice One Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the spirit fighting arena, 3 of the 5 matches were deadlocked, but Auckland held a slight advantage in the other 2. A wave of cheers erupted from the Auckland students. Quiet down. Several astute senior soul masters, recognizing the true state of affairs, watched the field with grave expressions. Auckland seemed to have the upper hand, but the royal fighters hadn't even begun to push themselves. Although Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Yao were doing well for the moment, Yu Tianheng could turn things around in a heartbeat if he wanted to. Dai Yuanyi was simply no match for Yu Tianheng. After swatting away another wave of sword energy, Yu Tianheng noticed Yufeng struggling and barked out orders. "Enough playing around. Yufeng, take to the skies and target their support soul master." "Sure Mo, you take over Yufeng's previous opponent." "Leng Leng, get ready to provide backup." His eyes narrowed, "Don't give them a chance." Yes, the team responded as one. The royal fighting team quickly shifted tactics. Yufeng soared into the air, and after his second soul ring flared, he dove toward the back of the Auckland team with terrifying momentum. Mo disengaged from Feng Qianli and moved to shield Dai Yao. His thick tortoise shell formed an impenetrable wall in front of Dai Yao, blocking every avenue of attack. Damn it! Dai Yao cursed under his breath. The big turtle was playing defense, refusing to engage, ruining his plans to flank and take out Yi Lenglang. Aside from Yu Tianheng, Yi Lenglang was the biggest threat on the royal fighting team. With Yi Lenglang still in the fight, there was no hope of victory. At the VIP table, Ning Fengji, watching Dai Yao's movements, turned to Salis with surprise. That kid's sharp. He knows Yi Lenglang is the key to the royal fighting team. Too bad Yu Tianheng saw through his plan. Salis chuckled. If that kid doesn't have something else up his sleeve, the Oakland team has no chance. Ning Fengji was taken aback, realizing Dai Yao's impressive performance wasn't even his full potential. Now he was really looking forward to the rest of the match. Fall back, Feng Qianli shouted when he saw Yufeng swooping down on Luo Ling. Luo Ling was the only reason Dai Yuani could even hold off Yu Tianheng. If Luo Ling went down, and Yu Tianheng was unleashed, it would spell disaster for Auckland. Dou Yu, guarding Luo Ling, launched himself into the air. His first and second soul rings, white and yellow respectively, glowed as he braced for Yufeng's attack, but in a single clash, Dou Yu's wings were shattered, and he was sent tumbling down in defeat. Yufeng adjusted his course and continued his dive. Seriously, Dou Yu's utter failure stunned Dai Yao. Panic swept through the Auckland team as everyone tried to retreat. Not so fast, Yu Tianheng roared, his second soul ring blazing. As if on cue, the royal battle team unleashed their full power. The second yellow soul rings of all 5 frontline fighters lit up simultaneously, thunder crackled across the arena, and the 2 basalt tortoises transformed their thick shells into deadly weapons. Oslo's shadow deepened, while Yufeng's wings sliced through the air even faster. An immense pressure washed over the field. The Auckland team was caught off guard, forced to brace themselves against the royal team's onslaught. If they didn't, they'd be cut to pieces. Once their formation crumbled, it would all be over. The royal fighting team's overwhelming aura filled the Seoul fighting arena as the audience held its breath. Students in Auckland broke out in cold sweats. The moment of truth, that the 3 at the VIP table realized. Luo Ling, give me your second soul skill. Sensing the terrifying buildup of thunderous energy, Dai Yuan yelled. Only his second soul skill could block Yu Tianheng's devastating attack, but using it would leave him completely drained, unable to fight. It was their only option. Even if they blocked Yu Tianheng's first strike, the Auckland team was still in deep trouble. Facing Yufeng's deadly dive, Luo Ling activated her second soul skill without hesitation, channeling a beam of red light into Dai Yuani. Luo Feng, who had been moving to intercept Yufeng, found himself ensnared by a snake that appeared from nowhere, unable to break free. As the yellow light of her second soul ring faded, Yufeng flashed past Luo Ling. Blood splattered as Luo Ling crashed to the ground outside the arena. She looked wearily at her teammates on the field. I'm sorry, I gave it my all. The second soul skill had drained every ounce of her soul power, transferring it to Dai Yuani. He was now at full strength, his attack boosted to terrifying levels. Luo Ling, I won't let you down. Dai Yuan's face was grim, all traces of frivolity gone. All that mattered now was the Qinghong sword in his hand. His second yellow soul ring flared. Second soul skill, sacrificial strike. This strike, amplified by Luo Ling's power, carried all of Dai Yuani and Luo Ling's soul power. Combined with Dai Yuani's unwavering resolve, the sheer force of this attack made the audience tremble. Impressive. Yu Tianheng was not surprised, but rather delighted. His own soul power surged, and he even deliberately waited for Dai Yuani to finish his technique before unleashing his own second soul skill. This was not arrogance, but the pride of the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex. No matter how hard you try, I'll still crush you head-on. Second soul skill, Thunderbolt. A storm of lightning erupted in the arena, engulfing not only Dai Yuani's sacrificial strike, but also lashing out at the rest of the Auckland team. The powerful and dazzling soul skills electrified the audience. In a flash, the thunder subsided, and the Oakland team member struggled to fend off the lingering lightning. "That's some serious juice," Dai Yao exclaimed, feeling the tingling numbness coursing through his body. It was a range attack, so he wasn't hit as hard as Dai Yuani, but the arc of lightning carried the power of total annihilation. As the thunder dissipated, Yu Tianheng stood tall, breathing slightly heavier, a trickle of sweat on his forehead. He casually put his hands behind his back, radiating an air of complete dominance. Dai Yuani's attack had indeed dealt some damage, but with Yi Langlang's support, he seemed unfazed. Dai Yuan, on the other hand, looked much worse for wear. His body was covered in burns and bruises from the electrical storm, and his hair was singed. Completely exhausted after his attack, he could only stare up at Yu Tianheng. Wide-eyed with shock, Yu Tianheng was like an unshakable mountain. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't even make a dent. With that realization, he collapsed on the ground, too weak to even turn over. "Guys, I'm sorry." Feng Qianli rushed to shield him, while Luo Feng's green vine extended to pull him from the arena. Now, only Dai Yao, Zhu Zhuqing, Feng Qianli, and Luo Feng remained on the field for the Auckland team. On the other side, the Dohuang team hadn't lost a single member, and the situation looked bleak.